Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Um, yes, Naoya Inoue is the undisputed super bantamweight champion, as I'm sure you know. Um, and what can you say about the guy? I mean, he's a sort of fistic genius, um, incredibly hard hitting, extremely skillful, mentally as tough as they're going to come. I think he proved that in the first fight with Donaire, and just the prowess of the man is incredible. But what is interesting is that he's decided to stay at super bantamweight as opposed to moving up and seeking yet another domination over yet another division at featherweight. But I don't think this is a bad idea for Inoue, who I think is 30 now, to spend a year sort of mopping up the gravy at super bantam, defeating a few leading contenders. But the question is, who's he going to fight? Now, I thought we'd go through just a few names briefly. The first one that springs to mind, I think the most obvious one, is Murodjon Akhmadaliev. Now, Akhmadaliev was being groomed to fight Inoue probably about a year ago, and then he lost to Tapales back in April. He lost a split decision, and Marlon Tapales, you know, a good, tough Filipino who actually tried to win against Inoue. I mean, I really respect that. He wasn't running. He was, you know, doing his little Philly shell at times and trying to be quite cute and pinch rounds, but it just wasn't enough. But nevertheless, a good fighter. And bearing in mind that at the time, that was only Akhmadaliev's 12th fight. I didn't think it was that big a tragedy. I mean, it was from the point of view that he lost the big ticket, the big payday against Inoue in Japan. But you know what? Sometimes these things work out for the better. Because since then, Akhmadaliev has come back. He recently fought. I mean, in December, was it a couple of weeks ago? He fought Kevin Gonzalez, previously undefeated, 26-0 and 1 Gonzalez. And Akhmadaliev stopped him in 8 rounds to say, I am back. And Eddie Hearn, of course, who promotes him, is saying, yes, he's back. He's got to make the fight with Inoue and doing all his promotional thing. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, Akhmadaliev, he was being fast-tracked, obviously. Won his first world title, I think in his 7th or 8th fight. 29 from Uzbekistan, southpaw. Can he give Inoue problems? Yeah, I think so. I don't know whether I'd pick him to win, but he can definitely give Inoue problems, no question. And that's a fight that I'd really like to see. I think that's probably the one that springs out for a lot of people, and they think, okay, you know, let's see that fight. That's the one we all want to see. That's the one that could be the most fun. And fun is something that you always get with Inoue anyway, but also with Akhmadaliev. You know, he's a good fighter to watch. Of the rest, I suppose the name that pops out again is Luis Neri of Mexico, 29 years old. So like Akhmadaliev, you would think he's in his physical prime. Another southpaw, and he has a very good record: 35 wins with 27 KOs, 1 defeat, which was a stoppage, and no draws. Now, the defeat was to Brandon Figueroa when Figueroa was undefeated. That was in May of 2021, so 2.5 years ago, and he got stopped in 7 rounds. That was for the WBA and WBC super bantam titles. And okay, yeah, bad defeat, and whenever you see a stoppage defeat on someone's record, you think if they're getting in there with Inoue, God help them. But don't forget, you know, stranger things have happened. It doesn't necessarily mean that Inoue is going to stop him. Since that defeat, he's come back quite well, Neri. He's beaten Carlos Castro on a split decision, who was undefeated in 27. He beat Azat Hovhannissian, who was 21-3 at the time. He stopped him in the 11th round. That was a fun fight. That was a lot of fun. And that, by the way, even though Hovhannissian is, I think he's 34, 35 now, mid-30s, nevertheless, that was his first stoppage defeat. So that was a step forward, definitely for Neri. And he was last seen defeating a guy called Saludar, who I can't remember his first name, but I'm not too. I think it's Frolin Sanyadar. He stopped him in 2 rounds. This was over in Mexico. I didn't know much about Solidar at all. But that was his second fight of 2023 after the Hovhannissian victory. So, he's treading a bit of water lately. The Hovhannissian fight was, I think, 10 months ago. So he's been treading a bit of water. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him against Inoue. I think, again, another exciting fighter. Mexican. You can never rule out these Mexican fellas. They're so good. They're so tough. They bring a sort of mental toughness. And of course, Inoue hasn't had any problems with him in the past, but at the same time, he hasn't had any problem with anyone because he's so damn good. But I think that would be a good matchup. I would expect Inoue to win, but nevertheless, a fun fight. Now, of the others, you've got a few who kind of spring out as far as names are concerned. I mean, Joel Real Casimero is one who. I mean, he's 35, I think, now. Definitely, that would be a fun matchup, an entertaining matchup, because he always just brings it, Casimero. He's a, kill or be killed guy. In case of Inoue, it might end up with him being killed, but nevertheless, he's going to bring it to him. It's going to be fun. It's going to be, a bloodbath, maybe. It could be a shootout. It could be a barn burner. You just don't know. At 35, though, and with his style, yeah, I don't see him beating Inoue, but why not? Why not? Don't forget, Inoue now has all 4 belts, so he's going to have mandatories coming out of his ears. But at the same time, I mean, this video is really about who you'd like to see him with, as well as the mandatories. I mean, some of these are going to be mandatories. Now, talking of mandatories, one of them is a guy with the WBO, is a guy called Sam Goodwin. And Sam Goodwin, I don't know a great deal about him. He's Australian, and I think he's undefeated, but he's got really no one on his record. Am I thinking of the right guy, Sam Goodwin? Is he undefeated? I think he is. I hope I'm thinking of the right guy here. I don't know much about this guy. That's why I'm second guessing myself. But from the little I have seen, he's also, by the way, I say he's ranked as mandatory. With the WBO, he was also ranked as mandatory with the IBF when Tapales held the belt. Of course, this is why I'm kind of mentioning names that aren't mandatories, because we're not sure who are going to be the mandatories now that Tapales has been defeated, and he might fall down to be, number one. You just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. You never know with these damn ruling bodies because they're so. You look for logic and then there's none. By the way, Neri was Inoue's mandatory with the WBC, unsurprisingly because he's Mexican, before the Tapales fight. But with Goodman, I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure about him. There is another possibility is that Inoue might decide to have a couple of fights in Japan against other Japanese fighters. And there are a couple out there. I mean, I don't see any of them being ready for Inoue, but then you could argue, well, when are they ever going to be ready for him unless they age him out? One is an undefeated fighter who is ranked called Yoshiki Takai, who has 8 wins with 8 KOs, no draws and no defeats. He's yet another southpaw, and he's 27, so he's coming into, again, his physical prime. He hasn't won any belts as far as I know. Put him in with Inoue, I think it's too much too soon, way too soon. But he is gaining momentum over in Japan as being a threat. He hasn't really fought anyone of any great note. He's fought some sort of B- level guys. But Inoue, nah, I'm not seeing it. But, the guy's Japanese, an all-Japanese affair, possibly. There's another guy, and again, this guy's 27, and believe it or not, he's a southpaw. They all seem to be southpaws over there. Another Japanese fighter called Toshiki Shimamachi. He is 27, 17 wins, 1 defeat on points, 11 wins are by 11 of the 17 wins are by KO. I think he's got 3 defeats. Okay, yeah, maybe put him in with Inoue. I don't know, as a voluntary, maybe. I don't know. Is Inoue allowed voluntaries with all those mandatories coming at him? I don't know. But this guy, Shimamachi, he hasn't faced anyone of note. In fact, he had a majority draw in his last fight over 10 with Toshiya Ishii, I think, Ishii. These names get me. I can never remember them correctly. But the guy, Ishii, I think his name is, had 6 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat, and he took Shimamashi to a 10-round majority draw. So that doesn't bode well if you're going in with Inoue. But I just get the feeling that Inoue might want to have a bit of home cooking now. You could say, well, he's been fighting all his fights in Japan against, Stephen Fulton and Tapales. Yeah, that's just where the money is. But I just wonder if they could generate more money by putting him in with some of his countrymen. Be an interesting little development. And by the way, as you may well be aware, Matchroom have hooked up with a leading Japanese promoter. Name escapes me. This is what happens when you get older. You forget these names that you should know. Anyway, so they'll be showing some of these Japanese cards in Britain on DAZN, and believe me, these Japanese cards very rarely fail to deliver. I watch a lot of them. I really like the little guys. I love Japanese boxing. Trust me, you're going to see some good boxing when these cards come over to DAZN, and you get to watch them in Britain or America. You watch it if you're in America, or wherever you are. Watch these cards because they're bloody good. They're really, really good. They're entertaining. You get lots of really good fights on the undercard, and very often, the matchups are terrific. So who else have we got? I mean, that's really all the names that spring out for me personally. I mean, you've got some of the old retreads like TJ Donahue, who I think is 37 now. He's got several defeats on his record. He ain't doing anything against Inoue. Who have I forgotten? Probably stop this video now, and I think I should have mentioned him. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll leave it there. But if I haven't mentioned any names, let me know who you think Inoue should fight next. He's going to stay at super bantam, so maybe maybe some people will come up from bantam, but he's preoccupied with all these mandatories, and there's enough people, like I say, enough potential matchups. I mean, you've even got people like Liam Davis who are ranked in the top 15 at the moment. Dennis McCann, I think, is in with one of the ruling bodies, is top 15. Yeah, but I don't know. Hovhannissian's still knocking around. Yeah, leave some names below, but definitely some good matchups there for Inoue. My favourite fighter, I make no secret of this. I love watching Inoue. I think he's probably the best in the world, all due respect to Crawford. But let me know your opinions. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the subscribe button and also the like button. And I'm looking forward to reading your comments. And I'll catch you later. Bye for now.